Welcome to this episode of The Unnoticed Entrepreneur. A little bit of change of format today. I'm going to work with a couple of guests on this episode because I've written an article about the search engine optimization benefits of podcast guesting. I've invited a couple of guests into the studio to have a chat about it. Let's hand over to Bob and Barbie.
Okay, so picture this. You're searching online for some kind of expert in your field, and guess who pops up? You. That's what we're diving into today, the power of podcast guesting for SEO.
It's a really fascinating strategy, and you've brought in some really interesting material for us to unpack.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to break it all down, the what, the why, and most importantly, the how, so you can actually use this to boost your online presence.
Yeah, no SEO wizardry required.
Exactly. We'll keep it crystal clear. So let's start with the foundation, those backlinks. One of the articles described backlinks as kind of like votes of confidence from other websites. I get that they're important for SEO, but break it down for us.
Okay, so imagine every time another website links to yours, it's like they're giving Google a glowing recommendation. Like, hey, this website is worth checking out. The more of these votes you get, the more Google starts to see you as like a trustworthy and valuable resource. And that pushes you higher up in the search results.
So it's all about building that authority, showing Google you're a credible source.
Precisely. And what makes podcast guesting so effective for building these backlinks is the type of websites that link to you. Podcasts usually have those pages for each episode with the show notes and transcripts and links to all the resources mentioned.
Okay, I see.
And these links aren't just random, they're directly related to your area of expertise. And that just amplifies your credibility even more.
So those strategically placed links can be really powerful. It's not just about how many you have, but also the relevance and the context.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just the podcast website. A lot of times the host, they'll link to your website from their own platform, and that further expands your reach and your SEO impact.
So we've got the podcast website, we've got the host site, show notes, transcript. It's like this whole web of backlinks stemming from a single podcast.
You got it. This chain reaction of SEO goodness. And honestly, creating those backlinks can be as simple as like adding a website URL to a dialog box.
Really?
It's surprisingly low tech.
Wow, I love that. See, SEO doesn't have to be intimidating. But it's not just about backlinks, right? What else does actually being on a podcast do to help with, your visibility online?
You're right. It goes way beyond that. Think of it as building your brand authority. Every time you appear as a guest on a podcast, you're positioning yourself as an expert. You're sharing your knowledge with a new audience.
So it's like saying, hey, I'm not just someone who happens to sell this product or service. I actually know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. That's the message it sends, and that translates to credibility, which is huge online.
Yeah, and people trust experts.
Right, and guess what? So do search engines.
Okay, so we've got the what with backlinks, touched on the why of podcasting, but let's get into the how. How does being a guest on a podcast actually make those links happen and establish you as an authority? What's a concrete example?
Absolutely. One article highlighted this guy, Raul Galera from Referral Candy. He saw a huge surge in backlinks almost as soon as he started going on podcasts. Like podcasts in his industry, right? And get this, even an SEO consultant was blown away by how effective it was.
Wow, if the SEO experts are impressed. But it's not just showing up and talking, is it? You mentioned something called a podcast guest blueprint.
Right. The podcast guest blueprint is this course, and it really emphasizes being strategic. It's about crafting your narrative, knowing your key messages, like preparation is key.
So just like any other presentation,
Yeah.
you need to know your audience and what they need.
Exactly. That's where the power is. It's not about trying to trick Google. It's about showcasing what you know authentically and that benefits your audience and your SEO.
That makes sense. You're not trying to please the algorithm. You're just having genuine conversations. But let's get practical. You've landed your guest spot, prepped your talking points, you're about to record. What can you actually do before, during, and after to really make the most of the SEO opportunity?
That's the million-dollar question. And it all comes down to the show notes. Show notes are prime real estate for SEO.
Like a storefront window.
Yes, it's your chance to make a great first impression. Before the episode goes live, make sure those show notes are packed with keywords, a link to your website, and links to other resources you mentioned during the podcast. This helps listeners and creates a powerful network of backlinks, all leading back to you.
It's all about getting the word out,
Right. Yeah.
making it easy for people to find you.
Yeah, exactly. And, don't forget about social media.
Oh, right.
During the episode, after the episode airs, share it everywhere. Tag the host, use relevant hashtags, and then engage with anyone who comments or shares it. All those little things add up, to your digital footprint.
Digital footprint.
All those traces you leave online, your website, social media, podcast appearances, the larger and more active that footprint is, the more visible you are to those search engines.
So it's like the more you put yourself out there, the more it all snowballs into this bigger online presence.
Exactly, like a ripple effect. And get this, even SEO experts are using podcast guesting as a strategy.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I read about this one consultant who actually chose to go on a specific podcast specifically for the backlinks.
Wow, if the SEO experts are doing it, that says something. But I have to ask, with all this focus on SEO, does it risk, overshadowing the actual content? Do we have to sacrifice good content for rankings?
It's a good question, and it's something a lot of people worry about. But the great thing is, you don't have to choose. The best SEO practices actually go hand in hand with creating valuable content. Remember building brand authority? When you genuinely want to share insights and tell a compelling story, you naturally end up using those relevant keywords.
So you're not just trying to jam in keywords for Google's sake.
No, not at all. And because podcasts often get transcribed, all those keywords get captured in text form too. It's like double dipping on the SEO benefits.
So it's a win-win for everyone. You get to share what you know and boost your SEO all at the same time.
Exactly. And don't even get me started on the long-term benefits. All that amazing content you make for the podcast can be repurposed like crazy. Social media posts, blog articles, website content, you name it.
So one podcast appearance can snowball into all these different things.
Absolutely. And the best part, it's a strategy anyone can use, no matter how big or small. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, podcast guesting can give you an edge.
I love that. Okay, so for our listeners who are feeling a little overwhelmed, what's the one thing they should focus on first when using podcast guesting for SEO? So much to think about. Where do we even begin?
I'd say the most important thing is finding the right podcasts. That's where a lot of people, they kind of trip up. They go straight for those big name shows, the ones with huge audiences, thinking that's the key.
Yeah, makes sense at first glance.
Right. More listeners, more reach. But here's the catch. It's not about casting the widest net. It's about finding that right audience.
So instead of those massive podcasts, it's better to find shows that really align with, your specific niche.
Yes, exactly. Think about it. Would you rather talk to 10,000 people who don't care about what you have to say, or 500 who are already super engaged with your topic?
500 for sure, hands down.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of those niche podcasts. You're talking directly to the people who are most likely to connect with your message.
Makes sense. Find those podcasts, the ones that resonate, and focus on delivering value there.
Absolutely. And once you've found them, it's all about preparation. That's where you figure out your key messages, your stories, and weave in those relevant keywords. Remember, it's about having a genuine conversation, sharing what you know, and leaving them wanting more.
It's like any important presentation, right?
Yeah.
You got to know what your audience needs and be ready to deliver.
You got it. And most importantly, have fun with it. The more genuine and enthusiastic you are, the more people are going to connect with you, and that leads to those clicks, the conversions, all those SEO benefits we've been talking about.
This has been so eye-opening. Who knew that listening to podcasts and being a guest could be such a powerful tool? It's not just fun, it's a smart move for anyone looking to grow online.
It really is. And the best part is, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, podcast guesting can give you a real edge in the digital world. Share what you know, connect with your audience, and watch your online presence grow.
So if you're looking for a fun and effective way to boost your SEO, podcast guesting might just be your secret weapon. Who knew that becoming the Beyoncé of backlinks could be this entertaining?
Right. Find the right stage, craft your message, and let your expertise shine.
And on that note, we'll catch you on our next deep dive.
So how do you think my guests, Bob and Barbie, did? They call it the deep dive. I've got the two of them there having a chat now. Quite interesting this because I actually wrote a podcast guest and SEO article. I had that on my blog. And rather than me just read it out to you or you miss it all together, I used the Google Notebook LM to create a conversation. It's very cool, this technology now. It's being able to take the content that I've written in text, and it's actually making it into a contextual conversation. Just a little bit of fun. I thought you might enjoy this. I have. And I've got a few more coming up for you as well. I'm playing a little bit with AI, but keeping it personal too. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Unnoticed Entrepreneur. If you're using AI, get in touch with me, jim@theunnoticed.cc. Share with me what you're doing, and we can hop on the mic and have a conversation, you and me. And until we meet again, I just do encourage you to keep on communicating.